Alright, hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the Acolyte. So I did kind of force myself to watch the last two episodes. While we're doing that, I'm going to put together the Yoda Jedi Starfighter. I've already got one put together. This is an old one, and actually I swapped out some of the parts here. So I didn't want it to be R2 because we have R2 everywhere. So I gave him Chopper's head. So we have a custom droid here. When you have a ton of R2-D2s and you're looking for a little bit different droids or whatever, sometimes you got to make some different changes here. All right, so looking at the Acolyte, the last two episodes, I hate to say it, but I really had a feeling I knew exactly where I was going, and it kind of did. The only thing that really surprised me was in the very end of the last episode, but we'll kind of get to that as we go along here. We had episode 7. Episode 7 just seemed like it was just a kind of welcome to the dark side. Here, have some cookies. Let's kind of become friends and all that, which doesn't make a lot of sense, seeing that you have a guy that just killed off the young lady's friends, zipper face there. If you kill somebody's friends, I don't think you're going to be able to take a day or two and make a friend out of them. So I don't get any of this. And like I said in the last episode, that it just seems like nobody has a set sense of guiding principles. It's like everybody changes on a whim as to what their guiding principles are, their desires, why are they there? What are they doing? Why do they do what they do? If that's constantly changing from moment to moment, I mean, you can't get into a person because it's such flawed writing in that regard. Not saying it's the actors, it's just you can't get interested into a character. There's no real sense as to why that character should be doing what they're doing, and that's where it gets really hard. So just kind of looking at it in that regard, they kind of go over another version of what happened at the young girl's home. The fire, the whole thing there, which, we used to get movies or TV shows that went for 26 episodes in a year, and now we're down to just having 8 episodes, and we're calling that a season. We're barely getting any time to really invest in anyone, and when you have slow writing, it doesn't really help all that much in those regards. It lessens what you can do. Like I said, with the poor writing there, I mean, it doesn't make it easier for a fan or potential fan or whatever. I mean, I said at the episode 6, I have no interest. I really don't care what happens at this point. There was no real feel of need to know what they were doing and how they were going to progress. And, I don't know how well of a writer I would ever be, and I'm just being honest here. I come up with ideas. I come up with worlds. I like to build the worlds and all that for my friends to run around in, and then they have their fun. But beyond that, oops, I should be doing that here so you guys can see what I'm doing. We lose all those Jedis, all the Jedi. It's both singular and plural. We lose all the Jedi in a massive battle, which I'm not saying was poorly done as far as choreography and everything else. It's doing a lot of the kind of kung fu style fighting and all that, which is not what we originally had with Jedi. It's the direction that they wanted to go. Even to say, all right, well, maybe it's a whole different type of Jedi or something. Maybe that would explain it a little bit more. We still could throw that out there and say it's a different group of Jedi or whatever, but they're all on Coruscant. I don't know. It just doesn't. For me, it doesn't seem quite right. It seems a little bit off. And to say it's 100 years before the Phantom Menace, we still get to keep the same storyline, saying that there were no Sith before, or we haven't had actual Sith in over 1,000 years. The guy's a fallen apprentice, so they should have been trying to bring him back into the fold. I don't know what all happened there. At least not in episode 7. But he spends the time, and then there's so many pictures and videos, and they keep going back to. I mean, the guy gets undressed, and the girl's kind of eyeing him up, and okay, so we've got him. Fine, whatever. I mean, it's been enough. There's been enough reverse versions of that. I don't care. I really don't. If it's there trying to get the female gaze on there or whatever, that's fine. I could care less. Do it, whatever. It's not something that interests me, but on the other hand, if this is what makes them happy and gets them all in the feels and everything else, fine, whatever. I don't care. I can't say that enough, I guess. It's not something that's going to interest me, but not everything has to interest me, and I fully understand that. So that's why I'm sitting there saying I don't care. It's something for a different demographic of the audience that I'm not a part of. Okay, fine. So he's walking around stark naked, whatever. We don't see it on screen, so he's probably got boxers on or whatever. And we just go from that point. Fine. But I just don't understand how you would be able to really twist someone's mind in one episode. And the girl really has had no great examples of some serious Jedi abilities that make me think that she's going to be anyone of any consequence. So I'm just trying to throw that out there because it just doesn't feel like she would have anything. I don't understand why they're so concerned about keeping her around. She doesn't really seem like she's an anyone. Maybe that's the whole idea, because Luke Skywalker, outside of his father being Darth Vader, at first he was a nobody, and it was meant that way on purpose to more or less just kind of keep him hidden. And then when we understand that he was being hidden from the Empire and his lineage and his Jedi abilities, which due to his lineage, there's something there. These girls were, I don't know, I mean, they try to explain it, that they created the girls out of thin air, but personally, I'm thinking that they jacked some guy, they got him for his seed, and they went from there. Right or wrong, they don't give me much really to really be too concerned about for the characters. And we don't have much time with them to really get invested in them. That's where the biggest issues come in. You have to have the struggles and the want to get involved with the characters. Why do so many people like Lord of the Rings? Because there's a struggle. You see that you have Samwise Gamgee, who is there, and he's a supporting character, but you can see that he cares about Frodo. Frodo is dealing with the burden of having to carry the ring. which keeps wearing down on him. And that gets pretty well shown and kind of explained there. So we get that understanding, which then leads us to then kind of get some care about what happens to him. We're worried about him. We want to see how he strives and overcomes his hardships, and those are the things that everyone wants to really see. So we go from there, and here we are now. We get all of 8 episodes, and the girls are there, but they're constantly going back and changing their motives as to why they do things, and it makes it very hard to get interested in them, because there's no real feel of, are they going to make it for this or that? Because we don't even know what their end game really should be. I mean, they're constantly flopping from one thing to another, so it makes it difficult. This is really where it comes down to. If they want to show that the Jedi are evil, which is what was kind of said by what's her name, the lady that used to be Weinstein's personal assistant. It doesn't show the Jedi are evil. It shows that they have some really messed up Jedi in here, because the lady that's being shown as the leader for the Jedi, she's a basket case. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say this. It's just, she's just kind of goofy. In my mind, she's goofy. She's kind of unhinged. She seems to be full of hate, and she snips at people, and she seems like the Jedi that should be sitting there in meditation alone, having to do penance for almost everything that they're doing, not helping to run the Jedi at whole. She shouldn't be meeting with high senators or anything else. She should be kind of more or less locked up and kept away. That's the way that they really present her. It's like throwing an intern that's ticked off that they're not getting what they think that they should get in front of a media blitz during a crisis of anything. She just seems like that kind of a person. Not really the best of the best there. And honestly, if there's a Jedi Council, which she doesn't seem to go with, she's not talking to anybody else. Not at this point, although we do see in the last episode that she's got to talk to her master, which then they reveal is Yoda. But I don't think it's the Yoda that you and me really know. It just seems like it's a different Yoda that is being thrown out there. Not, I don't know. It's a Disney Yoda, not a Lucas Yoda. We'll say it in that regard. Because whenever we see Yoda's always sitting there. Even when he fights Dooku, he's composed, reserved, calm. Everything that he talks about with Luke. And with the lady in green, Leslie Headland's wife, she is anything but, though. She's full of anger, bitterness, everything that we hear that the Sith are, and I just can't see her being in charge. I just can't. And unfortunately, and I've said this in some of my other videos, I've been watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine again, and honestly, if you really want to get into doing a good show, you want to do a comedy, watch Night Court. Learn how they're doing their shows. Ran for many seasons. They had actor change-ups because people, their contracts ran through or whatever. There were laugh tracks in there. It was funny. You want something that's humorous but also serious? Watch the old MASH. They could poke fun at serious things, and they did it in taste. In those regards, that is the best way to do it. If you want dramas and stuff like that, I honestly, I'd say watch the old Star Trek shows. They could deal with one issue after another. Some of the older, like the Doctor shows, there's some of them that are still kind of going or whatever. You can do drama. We don't always have to have sex involved, although, there's enough people that want it, fine. You can throw a little here and a little there. You can kind of keep it really low key. It brings in a wider audience. I know that we have Deadpool coming out here shortly. Deadpool's a character that you need to have rated R. Spawn is a character that should be rated R. Superman should be PG. Batman, you could argue either way. If you want to go more of the Dark Knight, yes. If you want to have a more detective, a little bit more kid-friendly, you could do that. You don't have to have the swearing and all that stuff. There's, in my view, and I'm going to say this, and I'm on a high horse here, I think we have too much swearing. I think the kids need to learn we can talk to each other without having F-bombs and everything going out all the time. Seeing how the kids act and all that, and I'm happy I have daughters that are at the ages that they're at and not younger. But even with them being at the ages that they're at, knowing the language that they get, be honest, I kind of got the same language, but my father was in the military and it drove my mother nuts that he talked the way he did. It's just some of those things that I know if I was to say any of those words, and I remember saying it once, that was a huge thing, and that was a stern talking to, and that was the only warning I was going to get. Otherwise, I was going to get a tanned hide. Parents don't have the same, or a lot of parents don't seem to have the same sense of morals anymore. Everybody swears all the time. I mean, it really does seem a lot more like the return home from Star Trek. Of, since we've gotten here, there seems to be a lot more use of more colorful metaphors, and it's very true. I mean, in our society, it has gotten worse and worse. So to think about it in those regards, I mean, what are we leaving for our children? And with this, I don't think The Acolyte is going to be one of those shows that you're going to get a lot of people that say, "Hey, this was a great show." And I'll say it like this: Firefly. A lot of people love Firefly. Firefly is a pretty decent show, and I will admit it. My best friend had to kind of sit me down to watch some of it. At first, I was like, I don't know, but yeah, they wrote really interesting characters. And it brought interesting stories. The feel felt like it was What If the Empire Won kind of vibe. So yeah, there's ways to do good stories. You get a good story out there, you get people interested in it, and next thing you know, even if it gets canceled, people are still sitting there saying, hey, they had great stories, great character development. I love the characters, and people are happy to go and see them today in Comic Cons or whatever else, and to sit here and say these are actors and actresses that people will look for new shows. If I was to say or ask my best friend what shows these people are in, he would be able to tell me exactly what shows they're currently working in. I don't watch after the actors as much as he does, but I will say that Jewel State is coming out in a new show. The actress that did River, I know that she had done the Sarah Connor Chronicles, and I think she's working on something else as well. So there are, just things that these actors and actresses are doing that people still keep track of, and they're willing to watch the shows because they fell in love with how the actors are and the things that they had done, and that's when you have a really good show in your hands. We can tell wonderful stories. They don't always have to be a serialized long story take of anything. You could do a long story arc, and I'll throw out Ghost in the Shell, because Ghost in the Shell, we had a long story arc there. Each season had its own story arc, and as we go through, even though that they may step away from that main story arc, they came back. So it can be done. All right, so let's start talking about episode 8. So now we get episode 8. So you get the green girl. She comes in. She's trying to find out what's going on. They kind of meet up with trying to remember exactly how it went, because now my mind is all thinking of other things. It's one of those. They don't meet up until after the end. Saul meets up with Osha. He's got May in tow. Osha now turns to the dark side. Osha kills off Saul, which doesn't make any sense because she looked at him with such fondness, and after a lie, or a possible lie, she just up and kills him. And she turns to the dark side. She's been trying to find her sister. And she admits that she hates her sister, but she had always loved her sister. See, and this is where everybody's kind of sense of direction just keeps changing, and it's hard to try and figure out what's going on, who's really wanting what. I don't know. I don't understand, and it's not easy. And it just makes for sloppy storytelling, disinterest in the characters in a lot of regards. It's just not easy to really want to invest time on a character that you think they're going to look at the world in one way, and then the next episode they're looking in an entire different way. I just don't get it. And then we get Saul's death at the hands of Osha, the great violation of laws. And you also learn that Osha and May are really the same person, just two different parts. But they end up and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They end up wiping May's mind, and May's okay with it, where I don't think I'd be as happy about that thought myself. I'm just being honest. I just don't think I'd be overly happy with having my mind wiped, especially if I've been looking for my sister my entire life, or for however many years, and suddenly now I'm being told, nope, we're going to wipe your mind, and then we're going to let you take the fall for all this, and then it doesn't seem like something I want to do. And it was pointed out by some other content creators how easy they do that, to just wipe people's mind. It's like, okay, so we finally use the Force in instances, and there's no effort behind it whatsoever, like it's a common everyday thing, and then that's just it. It's like, if it was that easy and that common, why didn't you do some of this stuff earlier when you were having a character issue in another episode about this happening, or people knowing you, but you could have erased their mind on this? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So it just gets really mucky. But yeah, they let May take the fall. Osha runs off to fall in love with the fallen Jedi and go live happily ever after, I guess. I don't know, because I can't see how we're ever going to have another season. So as far as I'm concerned, they're going to just wander off to obscurity. No one will know who they are. No one will care. They don't become anything of any importance. And there we are. Oops, missed a piece. I don't know. This whole, we're going to do 8 episodes in the season, but it's long and drawn out. It just doesn't seem well done to me. Now, maybe I'm wrong, which I'm willing to admit. I could very well be wrong. There might be a lot of people out there. I know a lot of people have been commenting on how many viewers have been watching it. It doesn't look like there's been a ton. Maybe it picks up later on. Maybe people fall in love with it. I don't know. I probably will never watch it again, because I had to force myself to finish watching it the first time. I just don't see me going back to watching it a second time. As far as looking at a lot of the other things that have been done out of all of this lately, I just don't know how much more I'm really going to watch. I think there's a lot of skepticism on how alive Star Wars is. I think, and I've said this before on one of my other videos, Star Wars is very much alive. But it's not alive because of the viewership. It's alive because you and me, as fans of Star Wars, we will keep it alive in our own minds, in our own stories, whether it's through watching the old movies, doing role-playing games, just having fun discussions about how everything had gone, however you want to look at it in those regards. That is how Star Wars will always live. Is there a point where maybe it fades away into obscurity and that's all there is left of it? Yeah, there's a possibility. I think it's going to continue on because as long as I can keep it going, I will keep it going. And that's the same love that I have for Star Wars that I have for Star Trek. And that's why, for me, for the most part, the older ones are the ones I really watch. Now I watch like the Lower Decks. I find it humorous and it's a cartoon meant for kids kind of way. I don't have a problem with it in that regard. But everyone's going to have to look at it in their own way. You have to become the steward of your own Star Wars and decide how you want to remember it. And that's how we're all going to have to kind of do for a while, until something truly comes forward and brings everybody back. Now, it's funny because people talk about the prequels, and a lot of people are, oh my God, I can't believe that George Lucas had made them. I didn't have a problem with the prequels, and I grew up with the original series. And I'm going to point it out in this way, and I've done it before. Look at our world today. Look at how divided we are. I mean, I don't like to talk about this stuff. I try to stay out of politics. That's not my area. I have my own opinions, but you know what? It doesn't mean I know anything. I am as dumb on that as a lot of people are, and I don't pretend I know a lot of things. So here we are. In that regard, though, I mean, we have somebody that took a shot at a presidential candidate, a former president, because our world is so divided. Now, that's happening in our real world. What would actually be enough to divide a galaxy? I think it would be the same thing. I really do. I think the same fears that we have in our world today are the same fears that we're going to have in the future. And that's the way I kind of look at it. Whether I'm right or wrong, the politics and that's dividing us, I think very easily could divide up a galaxy, and that I think it works. I think storytelling, I think it's a good enough plot out there that it could actually physically come true. But that's my view. That's why when I come up with some of the stuff for the role-playing games and all that, I try to I leave it somewhat based in real life. It is all fantasy, so even if it seems like it's a little close to home, far closer than what I ever hoped to be, because I wish fiction could be fiction again, and we don't have people taking shots at presidents, although it's not the first time. I guess the part that scares me is just hearing how some people are, whether you like the guy or not, which, I've never been a big supporter of the gentleman in the past, because I just think he's kind of in my personal view, a little bit of a blowhard, but you know what? That's my personal opinion. The other part is personal opinion or not, somebody tried to take him out, and he is running for presidency, and that should never happen. So that's my little take on that. Whether I like the guy, don't dislike the guy, whether I will or will not vote for the guy, that shouldn't matter. I don't care why you vote for who you vote for. That's your own personal opinion. But we have that right in our country, and thankfully we do. Whether we agree people should have that right or not, we have that right, and it's a wonderful thing that we have that right. So when we get to the prequels, you can like them, you can dislike them, you can however you feel about them. I'm perfectly fine with that. I know that these are all going to be identical, just flipped. That's why I'm doing this the way I am. And I'm sure people are going to look at me like, how are you doing this without messing it all up? Sometimes I do mess this up. Usually when you're doing ships, and these are wings, so knowing that I'm going to be doing a bunch of them, I'm just doing them. This is another prime example. Everybody's got their own views of how to do things. It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean you're right. It just means that we have different ways. Do I have a chance of messing this up? Sure. Am I going to kick myself in in the butt later if I really mess it up? Yes, because I'll have to take it apart. But it's just how things are, and everyone is a little different. And I've done forklift training, and I try to explain that to people. Everyone has their own way of doing things. You find a system that works good for you, work with it, run with it, and that's fine. So, everyone has their own views of how to get to the same place. We just don't always agree on how to get there and why we should get there, but we do. Just being different about it sometimes brings different views and maybe something we didn't think about along the way ourselves. Oops. Okay. So, I think I've kind of started running out of gas here as far as the Acolyte. If you never watch it, I don't think you're going to miss anything. I don't think it's going to go anywhere myself. But that's my personal opinion. If they do make a season 2, I will be surprised. Because I just don't see a story there, really, for doing a second season. I don't know if anyone else really expects to see a second season out of this or not. Some of the actors that they had, I know people were kind of chastising them for some of their comments. Okay, this is that one. This should be here. See? I do mess things up. We get it all right in the end. If it does get a second season, I'd be surprised. I don't think it's going to. I don't think they had the viewership. I don't think that they can afford to spend the money on it. In my recent years, or the last number of years, I guess I'm going to say it this way. I think the way a lot of the animation studios design their animation storyboards and all that is probably a better way of doing it, because they do it as a team, so that way, again, and they have a divisive team. I think not just the same group of people with the same thoughts here at the end. I think that's really kind of needed, so you can get opposing views. Sometimes you're going to sit there and argue with each other, which, sometimes we need to. And we have to understand at the end of the day, we all want to get the same end result. It's just that we have different ways of doing it. And sometimes we have to be humble enough to realize that we're not always right. And sometimes when we do things and we get bullheaded about it, and we try to tell everyone else that they have to listen to us, and things blow up in our face and things don't work out, well, that's just the unfortunate truth of it all. Okay, so now these go together. There's that one. There's that one. Now we have to figure out how we're hooking this all together here. Okay. So we need that. Okay, so this does have different ways of connecting this, because I don't think that this is connected the same way. Maybe I'm wrong. That looks different compared to how we're doing this one. So we'll see how this goes. That goes in here. these in here. All right, so here you get a second one. Put those in first this time because they just had them handy. I think we're almost done with this. Although I do admit I kind of goofed it on one thing here. I'm gonna flip that over. That's gonna go 1, 2, 3, and 4. I will say I kind of like how this kind of separates here and has that daggered look. That is kind of nice. Oops. Okay, I don't know if you can see the booklet here or not. As I'm flipping pages and I'm trying to think of where I'm supposed to be, and then I kind of goofed that up. Alright, so then this goes here. Oops. Goes. And that goes. So this is different, done differently than the old one. So that's kind of collapse down here. Put that on. Oh, okay. And then we have a sticker that's going to have to go on there, so let's take a good look at the sticker. I'm just taking a good look at the sticker here because I'm just trying to think of how that, there should be a reason for what the sticker means, and I'm just trying to look at it and see if I can figure that out myself. That's all. Because this is the way it looks like it should go on the ship, if I get it right. It's off a little bit there, but it's close enough. I think I'll keep it there. Watch my time. Not so much as the time for making the video, but I got a wife that's going to be coming home for lunch. I like to make a lunch for her. She's got just so much time. Okay, and then we have going on here, that goes to there. Alright, and then that should be it. I don't know why we have that piece hanging out like we do, but we do. And, oh, okay, so that keeps it from coming all the way out. So it always stays that slant, and it doesn't go beyond that. Alright. So fold up the bottom, we'll leave the top up. So we have a few extra parts here. We have R2, we have Yoda. Now looking at this one, because this one done differently, and this has got Technic pieces on here. So when we look at it, that's how they did this one. Hopefully you get to see a good view of that. I'm looking behind me. Actually, I do kind of like the new way of doing it compared to the old way. I think that's a little stronger, a little bit more beefed up. The fact that it keeps it here, I mean, I can go all the way out here, but here. And then opening, I think this is done the same, pretty close. This opens up a little bit more. And of course we have Yoda standing in here because he's got the short legs. He's got the children's legs, not the teenagers' legs. And in the back we have the engines down here instead of being up here. And we have stickers here. So that's the difference between them. We're in the back, we're closer together. This is rounded off because we have a different mechanic there. This does flip up, but Yoda's going to have to sit in there a little bit different than how he is on the other one. So And with this being what it is, with the hinge pieces, that keeps that from wanting to go too far down. And there we are. There we go. Okay. I have no idea where we're going to put these. I had this one in a drawer. I had to find it. So I think I might be able to sneak that one in there. And we'll go from there. But that's my ramblings on the Acolyte, and trying to get another Yoda starfighter together. So, let me know what you think. I know other people have. I'm not disagreeing with other people's thoughts on some of the things, and I do appreciate people coming up with different things to think of that I didn't. It's always nice to take opposing views. I think we should have a little bit more of that in our daily life at times. Sometimes it does get frustrating, but you know what? It's someone else trying to give you a different perspective on the way things are or could be. So with that, hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you in the next video.